Hey travelers, welcome to Gaming in the Gospel. My name's Dave Wright, Magic Dave to some, and author of the book Gaming in the Gospel. This podcast is a continuation of the conversations from the book, and my friend David Calvert, or actually Dr. David Calvert, is interviewing me, and this is an introduction episode where you get to know me, the author, a little bit, and you get to know my friend David Calvert, local worship pastor, fellow geek, and Star Wars nerd. So as you listen to me and Dave, and there's something that really resonates with you or you want to comment on, please post it in the comments below. And for now, let's jump in, and I hope you enjoy.
My name is David Calvert. I'm a local pastor. I'm a gamer. I'm a nerd in many, many ways, and have known Dave Wright, Magic Dave, for a long time. Initially as a sound guy who came in while he was running sound for Matt Papa when he was a touring musician. And my first impression of Dave was, this guy doesn't play. Like, he is super serious. Like, he was on top of making sure that this band sounded excellent, and was very attentive to all the details of how things were happening. And so that was a little scary to me as a hosting venue, like being evaluated by this professional sound guy coming in. But ultimately, Dave maintained contact because he stayed local. And we've used Dave since to come in and tweak our front of house and to train our audio engineers and to be involved in other training opportunities because he loves to teach and to shepherd folks who are still learning their craft. And so Dave's first book is called Sound in the Gospel. And I use that now to give to all of my volunteers, and a lot of other churches and even seminaries have used that as a text for helping sound engineers do their heart check on why they're serving and how they're serving, and then give some basics on what it means to run sound. And so that book is phenomenal. You can find it on Amazon. But Dave, who are you?
Oh, wow, that's a deep question.
Besides the sound guy.
Right. Deep down, I think I'm really just a creative that loves Jesus. And as I started on this journey, I was going to be a history teacher just a couple months before I graduated.
Me too, until I pivoted. My freshman year, I was convinced I was going to teach history, and then I switched to religion because I grew up Christian, and then as I was at school, I realized I don't know as much as I think I do, because there was a theologically progressive professor who challenged a bunch of things, and I would raise my hand and say, no, that's not true. And he'd be like, actually, and drop a stack on my desk of things to read that I'd never encountered before.
Yeah.
And so I switched to religion major. But that's funny. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was, I did it very last minute. Was getting ready to graduate, 3 months to go, and there was a band, and I wanted to record the band, and thankfully it wasn't recorded. Because it was one of those college bands,
Yeah.
But it got me into sound, and I started talking to some of the music professors, and and they said, hey, you should talk to Paul Rice. Paul Rice is this kind of legend in the Eastern Kentucky area. He played with Billy Ray Cyrus. He's a bass player for them, and
cool.
Alison Krauss played with her bass again. And also he was a phenomenal sound guy, and Paul took me under his wing, got me doing chapel. He would have me managing the far left channels, like the drum channels, and he would handle everything else. And he took me under his wing and just taught me about sound, about gain structure, and it's all about gain. And then I felt God kind of pivoted me towards audio production. I started doing live audio in the Eastern Kentucky area, worked at the Paramount Arts Theater, and just never looked back. And fast forward many production companies later and bands later, I feel God calling me to California. And I go out and be part of a Cornerstone Church in Simi Valley, and immediately get plugged in doing audio there, which was a dream. As I was listening to the podcast there, and Francis's teaching was very impactful for me in my young walk. And then I got to work with the guy that made the podcast, Jeff Henson. And that's just a really cool time. But during that time, God was really shaping me and molding my gospel perception of what it was I was doing and why I was doing it. I wasn't just doing audio for the sake of audio. And I had a pastor there, Todd Niswanger, who pulled me aside one day and says, "Hey man, you need to, make this more about just audio. Just like you should be discipling people. Just like when you get someone in the booth, just like think of it, you're there to mentor and disciple them." And it is such a light bulb.
Well, God had already prepared the way for that because that's what you had been doing unknowingly. You'd already been in these relationships of discipleship without even realizing it.
Yeah. And so and that's really what sparked Sound in the Gospel of just like, I'm like, whoa, this makes burnout not as big of a thing.
Yeah.
Just because if you were getting life through Christ, it allows you to do the hard thing. Just like you're getting fed, it isn't just a pouring out of just doing audio every Sunday over and over and over and just getting drained of that. But if God's pouring into you through another person, like you seeing the light bulbs go off in their eyes as they get a bigger picture of Jesus, man, that's what it's all about.
So that catches us up on what you've been doing vocationally, as it were, like how you make your money, but also what God has called you to do. But if you found this podcast, you probably found it because it's Gaming in the Gospel, Dave's newest release. So the whole time you've been running Sound, what else has been going on in your life that would lead to this desire?
Oh, goodness. Well, gaming's been part of my life since 1985.
Okay.
Ever since I was able to grab a IBM joystick and play Frogger on an IBM PC Junior.
Okay. We had a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
And then I pretty much moved to console as a child. Jumped over to Nintendo when that came out. We got ours in 86. The price came down a little bit. And then we skipped brands and went with a Genesis for the next generation.
Ooh.
And then an N64 came back to Nintendo, and then GameCube. And then at that point, my brother kind of took the console stuff in the house, and we had a setup where our computer, my dad was a big computer guy, and so we had a computer space that was built into our garage. And so I then pivoted to PC gaming for a while. And then when I went to college, I couldn't afford to maintain a computer that could play the games I wanted. And so when the Xbox came out, I was like, well, I'll just bite it and jump onto the console train again. Yeah. And so I've since been fully immersed in the Xbox world and have stayed current with all the generation of consoles there. Yeah. And then I pivoted to Mac as a creative, and so I haven't put an emulator on there or a virtual machine, and so I haven't made the jump back to PC gaming yet. Some of my friends have been teasing me. So you started on a PC Junior, but then where did you go from there?
Yeah, it was computers, NES, sold my He-Man collection to buy my first Nintendo. It's right over there.
Oh, you still have it? That's good.
Yeah.
Does it still work?
Sometimes. It's cranky. I've been meaning with these old NESs, you can get inside the thing and replace the pins. It's a thing you just slide off. It's the pin connector. Yep. It's actually not a very hard repair at all. And you can buy a brand pin slot, and it fits in there. And then, because that's the pin connectors get loose.
Yep.
That's the whole issue. And even when you blow on it, it creates just a little bit of moisture that temporarily allows it to connect. So that's why the blowing trick even worked.
Oh, so you're not clearing dust out. You're just putting your spit in there.
Pretty much.
Oh.
And then that corrodes the connectors on the cartridges, and this exacerbates the whole situation. But yeah, the computer thing, man, you can really chase the gear. And it feels like we are kind of plateauing on like the advances on like CPUs and GPUs.
Okay.
But in like the early 90s and 2000, like it was massive jumps.
Yeah.
Of just like technology. And I was thinking.
Yeah, orders of magnitude for sure.
I was, because I had in college IBM Aptiva Black Stealth, which I regret ever letting that go. That thing came with a CRT, speakers on it, had this cool little deck for the CD drive and a floppy drive, and it just looked cool as heck. But yeah, I sold that to a guy for a couple $100.
Oh no!
And my dad probably dumped $3,000 on that at the time.
Oh man!
I just kicking myself. But then I got a hypersonic PC, and I had an Alienware laptop which overheated.
As they're prone to do.
Yeah, they were real bad back then. But yeah, it's just you kept buying stuff. So
yeah,
getting into Xbox, I totally get that. But I think I was so far in on the PC stuff, and I didn't really look back. My console venture kind of ended at PS1.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, and I got an N64 over there right now, which I bought from a friend, and I'm playing stuff I've never seen before.
Yeah. Well, and the reason we're dropping all these gear terms is so that if you're listening to this as a new gamer, if you've been born after all these things existed, this may not be as interesting to you. Maybe it is. But if you are anywhere over 30, then this should be interesting to you. We're trying to establish our street cred, right?
Yeah.
Like Dave is writing a book about gaming in the gospel because he has a deep understanding. Like you don't have to tell him about the magic of graphics because he was there when the deep magic was written, right? Like he knows what's going on. And so we're establishing the street cred. Yeah. And so even still, Dave is maintaining a space that gives access to all of these legacy games. So if you hear the fans in the background, we're recording in Dave's gaming space, and those are actual fans from computers that are doing their job. Yep. I mean, my Xbox fan cuts on pretty quickly too because I work it pretty hard. But yes, that's the ambiance that you're hearing as we record this. But as we've continued to interact over the years, not only as a sound guy and pastor, but also as fellow nerds and lovers of games and technology and science fiction. Dave mentioned this book quite a while ago that God had put this idea in his mind. Yep. So tell me, like, why this book? Like, Sound in the Gospel has got an important niche. Like, nothing else lives in that space. Yep. It is a great resource for that world of volunteers in churches. So why gaming in the gospel?
Well, is this because of the lessons learned through Sound in the Gospel of applying the gospel to a vocation? I quickly began doing the homework in my own life of applying the gospel in every aspect of my life. And I quickly started realizing it's like, man, I spent a lot of time gaming. It's like, why did I do that? It's like, you get married and you have someone else in your life being like, hey, you played games all day, and just like, it's like, oh, really? Oh. And you have responsibilities and like trying to balance it. And then like, I would feel this tugging in my heart for it. And thankfully for the Holy Spirit, it began checking that of just like, well, why do you care about this so much? And there's a fantastic quote that I heard through Matt Papa, working with him over the years of St. Augustine, of the when you experience worry, fear, desperation, those are smoke from the fires of the altar of your heart, where you've replaced something for God. And I was beginning to connect the dots of my emotions with playing games. It's like if I got interrupted or couldn't do it, I would get grumpy or angry, and just like, I'm like, this has an effect on me, and began connecting those dots. Like, this is an idol. This is what an idol is, and and that theme just slowly, God just slowly unpacked that theme for me, and
so for you, you're kind of experiencing self-awareness. That the Spirit was using the gospel to illuminate parts of your heart, and that you were just kind of reflecting on these things.
Yeah.
So I feel like the book then is a tool for other people to use to again, like take the light of the Word of God and the Spirit of God to shine on their own hearts. So the work that He did in you, you're finally kind of bringing that into a solid tool to then share with other folks.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, just Yeah, that's just my heartbeat. Just to be a light and share what I've learned, and just like come along people and be like, hey, let's follow Jesus. Just like, let's do this thing. And here's how we can do it well.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I think. What do you think?
Yeah.
And we just work it out together.
Yeah, I know that there are certainly plenty of academic texts and probably parenting books that will tell you what to think about video games. And for many folks, that may be their first impression of even hearing about this book. It's like Gaming in the Gospel. Oh, yeah. I know what he's going to do here.
Yeah, gaming's bad.
Yeah,
you shouldn't do it.
But that's not the point of this book. Like you just said, it's an opportunity to bring the principles of the gospel to bear in every area of our lives, and that includes sitting around with video games. And so, I wonder what kind of games Jesus would play, because I don't think it's whether he would or not. I think he would, because one of the things I love about The Chosen is that it embodies some of the things that are in the margins or in between the lines in Scripture. Like when Jesus would go to a party, he would party. It's not like he would just sit in the corner and watch everybody.
Yeah.
But rather, Jesus participated in life fully. Like he had every experience that's common to humans, right? So Jesus, if he were here now, I think he would play some sort of games, because that's what people do. Some people do. And for him to have a full experience of life, like that would mean hopping on a PC or
so
playing.
He'd be the fourth player for Halo.
Yeah.
Popping in and be like, hey, can I hop in?
Yeah. He would probably be awesome at Smash Brothers.
But would he have God mode?
Oh, man. We're digressing. Okay. Anyways, so why now? So why this book now? Because it's been marinating for a while. So what's the process been like? Like why is Gaming in the Gospel releasing now in 2025?
Because writing's hard. Gotta love the quote by Ernest Hemingway. It's easy to write. You just sit at a typewriter and bleed. And for me, I did that a lot behind a keyboard. And for this book, it was really processing a lot of the emotions in the reality of my walk and where I was in my relationships. And it was hard. It was very hard. It was very painful to go through at times. Struggled throughout the whole book of just like getting it done. David, I mean, we certainly talked over the years. I mean, this kicked off probably 2017.
Yeah, pre-COVID. Just like, yeah, I think there's another book. And I didn't probably start getting after it until 2019. And then the blip happened. Yeah, there's a time warp.
Yeah, the book was me processing my emotions.
Yeah.
And I would hope as you read it, you will come along in that journey of seeing me do that and processing your own.
Well, part of what we experience through the book is there are questions for self-reflection and discussion. So yeah, if you're writing out those questions, then of course you have to answer them for yourself.
Oh yeah, and that was brutal. My hope and prayer for it was that you would do the whole book, score yourself, and see where you're at. Has a place where you can keep a record of it, and then in a couple months or a year or whatever, you go back and reread it and see if you improved. And it's a good, could be a good gratitude journal or a kick in the butt of just like, ooh, I haven't improved in this area. Ooh, or God did a big thing in this area and this is no longer an issue. So, so that was my hope for that. Yeah.
So what can we expect in the book? So if you're finding this podcast from the book, we're going to give you a heads up on the things you're going to encounter. If you're finding this podcast first and you haven't yet picked up a copy of the book, what are things that readers can expect to find? Yeah,
I mean, just thinking through the chapter summaries, I mean, they're talking about binging games, wasting time versus making time, and killing time. The pursuit of happiness, which is ultimately becomes an idol. God's desire for us is to be with him and to journey with him. And some days that is happiness and sometimes it's a struggle.
Yep.
the key word here is joy that comes from you. But happiness is a pursuit that never really satisfies. It doesn't satisfy in itself.
Right.
But
it's American.
It is. It is American. It's like, you've got to be happy. If you're not happy, something's wrong.
We all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
And so we, as American Christians, will very much live into that.
Yeah. So identifying that tie of happiness with gaming, that gaming makes you happy, all the highs and the dopamine hits of gaming make you happy. And just like, is that an idol for you? Well, it also discusses the connection between pornography and gaming, which I think is very real. The importance of having accountability and people around you to support you, having a good church around you.
Because relationships of discipleship. Like we talked about. Yeah.
Relationships, discipleship, accountability, a circle of trust. There's people that you can trust to look into your life and being like, hey, you are doing too much of this, or hey, how's your struggle with going to those websites, and just like that pushback. And then ultimately setting our perspective on Jesus and just how when we behold God's glory, it sets everything correctly, puts it in its correct orientation. Yeah. That's a general summary of what's in the book. And of course, it's covered with all sorts of nerdy references, and I talked about.
You have so many Easter eggs. Did you count how many Easter eggs?
No, I have not. I'm leaving that for someone else to find.
Okay, if you can email Dave at gaminginthegospel.com with how many Easter eggs are in the book, we will give you a free copy or more to share with a friend. So it reminded me of like playing.
I'll up that. I'll just give you something special.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Arkham Asylum or Arkham City, when you're playing the Batman games, the Riddler has trophies, like hundreds of trophies hidden around the city. And I just gave up after several hours of just trying to find them all. It's that level of Easter eggs in Gaming in the Gospel. There are so many. And even Easter eggs within Easter eggs as you flip around through pages.
I'll just say I love footnotes.
Me too. So what are the things you could expect then from Gaming in the Gospel podcast? What might be happening as we move through the season of it?
So one of the big reasons for doing this podcast is Gaming in the Gospel covers a lot of ground, but it does not cover all of it.
Sure.
And I was thinking, hey, a podcast format would be a great way to discuss things that aren't necessarily covered in a book, because the book doesn't necessarily touch a whole lot on social media, that effect.
Well, that's always changing too.
And it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, people are still using Facebook, aren't they? No. Is it Instagram? Oh, TikTok? Is TikTok still a thing?
Yeah.
By the time you listen to this podcast, we may not have TikTok anymore. Like, there's so many changes frequently to social media, but the principles are the same.
Yep.
The principles are the same.
Want to discuss tabletop board games, which can be just as addicting and sucking you in. Though I think there is a better inherent value because you get to connect with people in person.
Right.
But and a big theme of the book, obviously, is just like when the things we love don't love us back.
Yeah.
And because we love to geek out about stuff and get excited about stuff, but like when that stuff doesn't love you back and doesn't satisfy your desire for worship, doesn't take the weight of your worship, what do you do then?
Yeah.
Just like, what do you do with it then? So.
Well, and I have a PhD in worship, so I would love to talk about that for a whole episode, for sure. We could talk about the theology of worship and how it interacts with gaming.
Boom.
What other folks have you been connected with? I had the privilege of being one of the beta testers, as it were, for the book. Do you think some of those other folks that you've been interacting with throughout the process of writing might be on an episode?
Man, I would hope Dave Nash would come on, one of the lead designers at Epic Games. I mean, Fortnite. That's all I got to say. So,
yep.
He wrote the foreword for the book, and he's definitely got the street cred as well. He worked on Medal of Honor and Interstate 82, and the big one, Gears of War.
Yep.
So, he was a great comrade on this. Who else are you thinking of?
I don't know. I think it'd be great to connect with other creatives in the area who, like me, like I'm not professionally a gamer. Neither are you. You know, professionally, you're a sound guy. But you're a creative who that kind of bleeds over into all these spaces. And so it'd be great to meet with other folks who maybe don't work in the game industry, but have been lifelong gamers.
Yeah.
And hear their experience of what it's been like. And so it may even it'd be exciting to maybe receive questions as well. So as you read through the book or as you listen to this podcast, if you have particular questions about the gospel, about gaming, about specific consoles and all that kind of stuff, we would love to talk about it.
Yep.
So feel free to, again, follow up via email. Let us know what you're thinking. Or if you're, ultimately, we may live in the YouTube space, throw these things in the comments. We'd love to follow up with thinking through out loud about these questions. Yep. One of the, I think, great benefits of the book is that you can read it on your own. I did another read through just recently, once it was released, just to refresh, and read it pretty quickly. I didn't score myself this time because I already knew the questions were coming, but I read through pretty quickly on my own. But I think that it would you would be potentially more benefited by reading it with other people.
Yes.
And so if you're in a small group through your church, or if you're in a home group of some sort, or you just have a couple buddies who you love to game with anyways, having this as a way to foster particular kinds of conversations would be great. And so not only is it going to build your relationships with them, but also with God as you think through these things together. And so that's a really cool thing. Not every book lends itself in such a way, right? Like even Sound in the Gospel, you wouldn't necessarily read it with a group per se, unless it was a very specific group of sound people. But this one, you could read with somebody who loves to play tabletop games or card games or Xbox or PC or PlayStation or whatever. There are multiple ways that it could be applied to help bring people together for really good conversations.
Yeah, you made me think of my 80-some-year-old mother lives with us, and I let her read a early version of it, and I thought she was going to hate it because she was one that always hated the video games, always hated all the time that I put into it. And my mom read it, and her takeaway, she was blown away and told me I had to do this. I had to get this out. This was too important. And that meant a whole lot. Because for her, I mean, she's watching TV all the time. She reads books all the time and stuff. And she was applying that to her heart.
Is that a screensaver?
That is the rat race from After Dark screensaver. And I got to go over there and move the mouse.
That's awesome.
I thought I disabled all the audio. I guess, I don't know.
No, this is one of the reasons I want Dave to do a video podcast, is because
there's this stuff.
Then you can see how beautiful this is. And the other screensaver is the flying toilets with toilet paper and plungers. And again, if you were born after 2000, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you're anywhere close to our ages, then you're like, oh, I haven't seen that in forever. So yeah, hopefully the video.
But for young people, I mean, there's a whole new world for you to jump into and get inspired by and check out. So yeah, abandonware. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But my mom, she walked away applying the gospel to her heart through her love for TV and books.
Oh, cool.
And just like applied it that way.
Yeah, it's still media.
Yeah, is this because ultimately the gaming the gospel is just about like the things we worship and why do we worship them, and what should we be worshiping?
Yeah,
which is obviously Jesus. So
thinking about things that we can expect to come, what are some of the things that we might expect coming out of, besides the podcast, coming out of this gaming in the gospel experience? Yeah,
we got obviously the book is on Amazon right now that you can purchase paperback. We'll be doing a Kindle print replica on April 1st. It's no joke. And thanks, that was kind. So a print replica of the book with the questions and then a free PDF on the website. We're also working on a group discussion guide that me and Dave, Council of Daves here, are working on. And we'll that will be on the website for free as well as a PDF. And then God willing, and the creek doesn't rise, May 4th, we're going to release the audiobook of Gaming the Gospel, where my friend Matt Shirley came in and knocked out the book, and my friend Andrea did the story portions of the book, which are kind of like these nerdy, abstract gaming stories that somehow connect by the end.
Yeah, it's meta. It's a meta thing.
It's very meta. And she did a performance of it. There'll be a sound design with it, so it should be fun. I think it'll be pretty special. So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that day. I'm a huge, huge Star Wars fan. And so hopefully as I spend more time getting to know, or you get time to get to know me through the podcast, you'll realize the Star Wars nerdiness level. Like I drop a Star Wars reference in every sermon that I preach, but it's an Easter egg. Like they're not always as overt. Now you can go listen to our sermons. But anyways, the May 4th release date is...
Yeah, but we got to talk about, you just played X-Wing versus TIE Fighter with me on these potato PCs over here.
That's true. Before we jumped on to record, Dave convinced me, with not much work, to play X-Wing versus TIE Fighter on these Win98 machines that he has. That's the fans that you've been hearing, the ambiance. And muscle memory came back, but we started on controllers, which was not my muscle memory. Like for this game, my brain goes to keyboard and joystick. And so after a while of dying, I started complaining enough that Dave got the joystick out. We hooked that up, and then like, all right, I'm feeling it now. Had to install the driver. Yeah, we had to install the drivers and find the way to emulate all these things. But then like flying with the joystick, my left hand naturally fell where it needed to on the keyboard to do some of the things. And like, it was really crazy. But that reminds me of like all these other things that are implied in the Gaming in the Gospel book. There's so many elements of science and physiology and brain science. Like my hand and brain remembered things from 30 years ago because my brain has been wired that way. There are things that we do to ourselves as gamers that we may not be fully aware of. And so the fact that Gaming in the Gospel helps bring some of that stuff to our awareness is awesome.
Yeah, you got quite a Insta-Canyon there for,
for sure.
For X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. And if you want to find out more about that, get the book.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out the book Gaming in the Gospel on Amazon, available on Kindle and Audiobook. Gaming in the Gospel is produced by Evan Staley with Staley Media. Audio recorded in the Nebthos bunker by Magic Dave. Published by Nebthos.